Hi, this is MrByZ, and I'm going to be taking a look at the history of the BWing as done by Kenner and Hasbro through the years. So here's the vintage BWing, and this is a kind of a very unique design ship. Obviously, you didn't see them a whole lot in the movie, and yet they still came out with a nice toy of us. It's a very good, especially vintage era, very good detailed toy. We have an opening cockpit, as per usual. We get all the different stickers in there and everything. And it has a couple different features I'll try to show here. The first being, I gotta remember which one it is. One of these engines turns, this one, okay. So you turn this engine here, and the wings pop open like so that you get that, the wings out. Now the other thing it has, and the vintage one, there it goes. The cockpit has a gyroscope in it. The vintage one doesn't work as well anymore. It's a little old, but the idea is the cockpit will always stay up no matter which way you go. And one of the last features this has, it has another little lever right here that when you pull it this way, I'm supposed to do this. There it goes. You notice that center thing popped up. Well, it's rough. There we go. And this landing gear pops, so you can set your BWing down in a landing position, as it were. Yeah, it's a really interesting vehicle. Oh, it has one last thing. It has a button right here that if you press it, it would make the normal buzzing sound that we get on these things. My batteries aren't in this. Now on the Power of the Jedi era, we got the first modern BWing here. You can see that the color scheme is very similar to the vintage one, but it's got a little bit more paint upgrade to it. It looks a little bit better. Cockpit, very similar. It has some different decals. I don't think it came with this pilot. This was from the Rebel Pilots 3-pack. But it did come with a pilot, if I remember correctly. We have some weathering and such on here, and it just adds a little bit. Other than that, everything else is still the same. We still have the gyroscope cockpit, which works a little bit better than the vintage one here. It's a little smoother. We still have the lever for the landing gear, and we can still turn one of the engines to move the outer wings out. Gone, however, is the button for the sound, as this has no electronics. Now, in the late 2000s, we started to get some more EU-based vehicles, this being what they call the Dagger Squadron BWing. Now, this BWing never appeared in the movie, but we do have an updated cockpit in it. I can open it here. That did come with this BWing pilot. As you can see, there's a lot more detail inside that cockpit. Even paint, not decals. Kind of cool there. It has a different kind of gun on here with firing missiles. Just other than that, it's just a new paint job. There's nothing else new about this. I'm trying to remember if it's this one. We do have a new different paint here. If it's this one or the later one. No, it's this one. I was trying to think of the vintage release I'll get to next. This one had a couple different things. It had some customizable stickers with it, so you can make it different ships in the Dagger Squadron, as it were, which was an EU Dagger Squadron. It had two different guns that you could emplace on it, if I remember correctly. I think I'm getting that right. I might be getting confused with a different BWing. But I know one of them had guns that you could trade out, so you could have missile launching ones or kind of those original style type. So, we get a little EU vehicle. It's the same time we got like the TIE Interceptor with the red stripe on it and things like that. So they were kind of like more of an EU vehicle, but still using older molds and giving us something kind of extra within our Star Wars universe at the time. So here's the final BWing that was put out. This was an exclusive. I'm going to say it was exclusive to Toys R Us. It may have been Kmart. I'm not remembering off the top of my head. It came in a vintage style box, bringing back the vintage box. You see the colors are very similar to the vintage one, as well as the regular, the first release that came out. It does have this completely updated cockpit. Let me get that open. So you can see here all the detail that went in there. We actually have a little color in the cockpit. This is No, I don't think this BWing came with a figure, so this is not a figure that came with it. Just one I stuck in there. You know, it's so much more than that original cockpit. But outside of that, whoops, comes off. Outside of that, this is basically the same. It's still the same mold. Everything works still the same. You can still turn the engine for the wings to pop open, which I'm not going to do that full. You can still lower the landing gear, all that stuff. This one did come with some extra guns. It has these guns right here, which are very standard. They're much like the vintage ones and all that. But then there are guns that look like long missile shooters. I don't have them right here. But it was made so basically, at the time Hasbro was putting out stuff to appeal to both collectors and to kids. And so collectors get the realistic looking guns and kids would get the missile shooting guns. So that was kind of a cool idea. We flip it over, we see the detail that we have here. You see that cockpit actually did rotate like it's supposed to. But there's not a whole, you see a little bit of weathering here, not a whole lot of extra detail. But it's still a very cool looking ship. Still the same mold. Did they need to ever update this mold? Make it bigger? Maybe. But, you know, this worked. We got that updated cockpit. And that's really about all it needed. So as you can see through all these different BWings, it stayed basically the same all the way through. So this is the extra guns that you get with the BWing right here. They just plug in just like the other guns, and you can see you can press this button right here. I think it's this button. Yep, and this missile will come out here. So, you know, it was a little extra piece. You got 2 extra guns, so you could use the firing ones that look like this, or you can just use the traditional, kind of more realistic looking guns. So that was my look at the BWing. You can see how it started off. We continued with that same mold the whole way. It really hasn't changed a whole lot. Colors, a little bit of deco, a little bit of cockpit. That's about it. Be interesting to see if we ever see a new BWing at all. We never saw the Rebels BWing. They haven't come out in the new sequel trilogies at all. Maybe, who knows, in the next episode 9 we'll see a BWing. But be kind of cool. It's been a little while. This is probably the least done Rebel vehicle as far as the wings, if you will, through these, as you can tell. That kind of covers the Rebel vehicles in my series here. So next I'll be taking a look at TIE Fighters. Now, when I'm putting this together, it looks like it's about to be a 30-35 minute video. So I'll probably break this down into regular TIE Fighters, TIE Advanced, TIE Bombers, and I think I'm missing something there, but I'll figure it out. Anyways, so we'll get those in there. If you like this, subscribe. I hope you enjoyed this. Share it with your friends. I hope this is educational for people so they can see what is really out there, what has really come. I give approximation on dates. I always remember, I'll be honest, I'm not looking them up. I'm not being the good teacher that I am. But a lot of the information, if you need that extra information, is out there. But you can see the differences between each one as we go. I'll also have a couple other things coming in here soon, some new stuff that I've ordered that I'll be able to take a look at. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Even if I said something wrong, don't be afraid to say, oh, you said, I mean, it's the internet, right? Everybody points out what you did wrong. Go ahead. It's okay. I make mistakes too. Until next time, happy collecting.